Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on bridging the cybersecurity skills gap, which is complementarities of talent and technology, which Outlook is bringing to you in association with Sophos, the leading solution provider when it comes to cybersecurity offerings. One of the things that I'm sure everyone present over here is very well aware of is how crucial a role cybersecurity plays when it comes to protecting an organization's critical assets and the digital infrastructure. However, the one growing concern that is evident across the board is the shortage of skilled cybersecurity professionals. According to various reports, this skill shortage in cybersecurity is likely to affect over 3.5 million jobs globally by 2025. What's astounding about this figure is that it's a 350% rise over a 8 year period. Um, and most of the skill shortage that one has seen is in those areas that have really taken up in the past few years, which is threat intelligence, cloud security, incident response, and application security. To set the context of how important it is to have the right kind of talent and the current gap that exists in skilled cybersecurity professional work pool, I would like to invite Vibhav Pachori, the partner at KPMG, to shed a light on this particular scenario and why it's a very scary one.
Of course, and thanks for that quick one, Vinita. I think when I look at cyber, and then that's a subject that has evolved substantially over last 3 to 4 years, I would believe. Post COVID, post digitization impacted, it is something that has added a lot of value. Now, the one stark change that we have been seeing in terms of the overall cybersecurity exposure is coming from the value that the things get associated. Now, if, for example, in a very quick story on Dawn refrigerator, maybe I'll voice it out. A very small story. There was a person who had a refrigerator. This refrigerator he was not using at all, so he decided to put it out in the open and just put a label free of cost. Whosoever wants it, please go ahead and take it. For 5 days, nobody picked it. After that, he put a label $50 and somebody stole it the next day. What has happened really? The change is that when you associate a cost with something, obviously there is a substantial impact in terms of the value that people perceive. And that's where the cyber attacks has led to substantial hike, because most of the organization may have certain points, certain data, certain element services that may not be really valuable to the outside in world. And obviously then it becomes applicable to that person once they encrypt it. And that's the recent trends in the attacks that you see in the global scale happening. Another astounding number that I came across recently was, after US and China, the biggest economy in terms of GDP is the cyber crime. And also came across this recent terminology called crime as a service. We've all heard about infrastructure as a service. We also heard platform as a service, but recently the biggest one is crime as a service. And I'm sometimes surprised how easy it is actually become to get a hacker to work for you. And some of you who are in the field absolutely understand that one. However, for them to really work as an ethical hacker is a difficult task. And that's where when I was seeing some of the latest NESCOM report on the skill gap assessment, there is an astounding difference between the quality of people that are expected, more so with the evolving technology landscape. That's where the real gap is coming across. If you look at people, most of the people have been looking at cyber in a very traditional lens. And at least in my view, I believe in another 5 years, some of these process related roles that we all have been having, for example, and for the lack of a better word, putting together policies, process, and say that will be there, that will be very pertinent and important, it will grow. But that's not where the skill is required. The skill is required in terms of evolving threats, because we are surrounded by an environment which is not controlled. And for example, I'm sitting here, we are controlling the complete ecosystem in terms of my laptop, desktop, endpoints. But what about the printers? What about the smart devices that we are using? I drive a car which is smart. So how do I protect that? And that's where, more from a business standpoint, there'll be so much more skill required to actually protect the way of working and not only the systems that we have. the life that we live, right from me getting up, booking a cab, have to be protected to the point I actually take a print, and to an extent, actually, my iPhone and my iWatch giving me what is my actual heartbeat going on right now. So I think the substantial evolution from a skill standpoint will have to happen in the applicability and more adaptable and applicable cybersecurity knowledge, which would be a substantial gap in terms of the evolving trends that we are seeing. Uh, and that is similar to what KPMG's recent survey says. So we every year do a survey for about 2,500 plus CEOs across the globe. And recently, when we were going through this survey, we realized that there were two key evolving trends that we noticed. Number one being that most of the CEOs believe that cybersecurity is a constant threat to their business operations and organization, and that is a consistent one in last 5 years. But more important, when we ask them how prepared they are to believe, they believe that the number one skill gap, number one risk that they see is the unavailability of risk to actually mitigate the threats that are coming through. So maybe today, when we get into the details, some of those pertinent answers around the evolving threats, the skill gaps, both not only in terms of the control ecosystem that we have, but the uncontrolled ecosystem, such as connected cars, connected devices, connected everything. How do we get the right skill sets there? And maybe we get an idea or two on how do we move forward securely. That's a quick context from my side, Vinita. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Vibhav. And that context was really helpful. Before we move ahead, I would like to tell all the attendees who are there that during the course of this webinar, we will be floating a couple of opinion polls. And I request all participants to please share their inputs for that so that, we can steer the conversation in the right direction. Now, coming back to what you mentioned, Vibhav, it's very interesting that you mentioned how, taking the, example you mentioned about the refrigerator, about how it's all about the kind of value that one attaches to various assets. And in this case, it could be about the cybersecurity solutions or even the talent in this stream. And the two trends that you also mentioned, the KPMG survey, which is about cybersecurity being a constant threat to most executives. And they believe that the biggest risk comes from the lack of a proper talent pool and the shortage of people
And
who can
availability of the skill resources.
Yes. Now, most often than not, one sees that this awareness having been seeped in, enterprises are doing their best to bridge the gap. They're constantly investing in technology platforms. They're also investing in training programs to keep their professionals updated about the latest tools, the techniques, and the best practices in this ever evolving world. But are they doing enough, which is what the crux of our conversation is? And I would like to direct the question to Mr. Rishi Sareen, who's the director for technology at DTC Express. Mr. Sareen, I would like to understand from you, given the fact that there is such a huge gap that exists when it comes to talent, can companies encourage the participation from non-traditional backgrounds to, bridge this gap?
Thanks, Vinita, and hello, everyone. Meera, I completely, second the thoughts that Weber just mentioned. And the era post-pandemic, right, is kind of has created a vacuum in terms of the talent gap. Now, first and foremost, what's there in what, say, I'll give you examples of what DTDC is doing. First and foremost, at DTDC, this is a board topic. This is not at a CXO level as well, or the next layer. This is cyber security, and at DTDC is a board topic. We are on a proactive and we are building a proactive and an inclusive approach to talent acquisition and collaboration, right? Encouraging the participation from non-traditional backgrounds, because talent is scarce. So that's what we are trying to do. We have matured professionals, right, and we are fostering collaboration across the value chain to bring in a fresh perspective. Now, we have already tried with our D3L program, and this D3L program is Dream, Dare, and Deliver, right? Where we partner with educational institutions, community organizations, and diverse focused initiatives for bringing in fresh talent, right? Now, when the fresh talent comes in, they are tagged to from day one, they are tagged into a mentorship program, right? And they are given a whiteboard to get trained, developed. There are apprenticeship programs and training programs for them, right? We are promoting diversity. Last but not the least, we creating a tech center of excellence, which is not only going to work on cyber security, hackathons, futuristic readiness for DTDC, right? And we are going ahead and partnering with universities, colleges, schools to develop the curriculum and certification programs that address the industry needs. That these are the steps by which we're trying to be future ready as well as curtail our security posture positively for any cyber security related matters.
So, Mr. Sarin, that's a very interesting thing that you're doing, that the DTL program that is there. So at the same time, your organization works with a very wide range of clientele, from the
Yeah,
BFSI to the e-commerce, and their requirements also are different, which puts a
yeah.
certain kind of onus on your own cybersecurity needs, right? So how do you use your, how do you skill up these people that you get from the various educational institutes to, be quick on the go and hit the ground running?
So if you see, Vinita, that BFSI is regulated industry.
Mhm.
E-commerce from a tech standpoint or cybersecurity standpoint has been very vulnerable in post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, right? And post-pandemic, it has increased. Now, these new faces, the D3L program, right, where we pick up new talent, right? They are put into extensive awareness and training programs, right? Initially, to understand and but obviously they have to have that cybersecurity incline, right? They're put into training programs, they're put into mentorship programs, right? uh, they're exposed to various latest technologies on cybersecurity, and they start building in the framework for future and current. So much so that internally also we float in positions where people who have interest in cybersecurity, because one has to create awareness and you have to build the talent. You can't wait for or go out in the market only searching for talent at one stage. And DTDC believes in building fresh talent. All right. And that is where we identify people, what is their incline towards cybersecurity. We give them trainings and the mentorship programs by experienced people, mature people in our organization. We partner with various partners who come and provide them trainings. This is where the skill set is developed, and there is stickiness to the organization then, right? That's what we have been following, and we have been getting greater successes. And there is a concept of virtual CISOs also, for virtual cybersecurity people, right? We are planning to arrange hackathons, right, and identify people who would like to come and join DTDC, right, as part time as well. We are kind of open for that also, and we've been piloting these programs, and we've got a lot of success. And because and as you rightly said, we deal with the entire market, whether it is B2B, whether it is BFSI, whether it is e-commerce, right? And the needs of cybersecurity at each layer is little different. So we have to be always ahead of pace, ahead of the market by building more stringent protocols and policies. But yeah, and meeting the current requirements of these organizations is very critical for us, and that's what we work for.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sareen, for telling me, giving us that insight on how your organization operates. And just a quick update for our participants. We will now be running the first poll of the event. So please be ready to give your inputs about it. So the question that is what we'd like to understand is, what is a major cybersecurity challenge that enterprises face today? Is it DDoS? Is it phishing attacks? Is it insider threat, malware and ransomware, or any of the others? So please click on whatever you think is the most pertinent one, and we will move on from there. Now, Mr. Sareen, taking on from what you said, there is a very stark gap that exists between the demand and supply in the cybersecurity workforce, which is largely because of the understaffed security team and a shortage of senior level personnel also, which is making most companies susceptible to breaches.
Yes.
While the demand for cybersecurity professionals has skyrocketed in recent times, which is also driven by the escalating frequency and the sophistication of cyber attacks, we have seen that the supply of qualified personnel is not keeping pace, especially the senior people. You did mention about the D3L program. I would like to understand now from Mr. Anand Badolia. Mr. Badolia, can you tell us what Mr. Sareen just mentioned about partnering with educational institutes? Do you think that security companies can also consider offering cybersecurity degree programs to ensure that they have a regular pipeline of fresh talent who can fill up the senior level gaps?
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to connect today. I agree with Mr. Sareen that the cyber security is the biggest threat the IT users are having. Before I just answer your question, a little bit about what we do. I'm part of BSES, and we supply the power to 48 lakh customers of the Delhi area from our two of the companies, the BSES Rajdhani Power Limited and BSES Yamuna Power Limited. The key component in our digital landscape are the SCADA and DMS system, which we use to monitor and control the power network, the enterprise systems, so the ERPs, the CRM, the billing system, etc., and the whole lot of applications by which we provide the consumer services, like the chatbots, the mobile, WhatsApp integration, etc. And third, but not the least, is the AMI, the advanced metering infrastructure. And nowadays, with the Power Ministry of the Government of India is pushing for the smart metering system, which will ultimately help us in capturing the data as well as have a better demand management system and the better customer care system, as well as the power management. As you know, the power distribution has evolved, means traditionally from being served from the thermal or the coal-based power systems. Nowadays, with complexity in terms of the renewable energy, whether it's solar or the wind energy, and the EV getting most popular. So there is much more uncertainty in the power distribution sector, which we are going to see. So with this, the IT landscape for the power sector becomes much more complex. And the power sector, being the critical infrastructure of the country, again becomes very, very critical to protect from the cyber threats. Now, coming back to the the talent deficit, it is very, very important that we use the people, the technology, and the platforms to manage the cyber security in our organizations. As you know, there is a huge shortage of the talent available. So we have to manage this problem. Now, what is the answer? The answer is that we explore various opportunities, partner with various companies in terms of providing various services to us, explore the possibility of tying up with educational institutes to create or configure a tailored course. In this context, we have tied up with NPTI, that is National Power Training Institute, And one of the course which they are offering is on cyber security, particularly in the power industry. So we are planning to not only provide the training to the IT people, but it is important that there is an awareness amongst the organization in all other domains as well as the user group, because it is not possible actually to protect the systems only from the IT perspective. So all stakeholders also need to understand the importance of cyber security. What are the do's, what are the don'ts, and then only we will be able to protect our system. So, and we are also partnering with certain companies in order to provide certain services as a platform service or as a service in terms of the whether it's SOC or it's basically various other platform as a service in order to provide the security. So that help us make us agile in terms of deploying a technology, and it also solves the problem of the talent shortage. So while we continue developing our people, collaborate with various institutes to develop our team, as well as collaborate with our partner in order to make an ecosystem which can help us achieving this object.
Thank you, Mr. Budolia. And we also have the results of the first poll, which we'll share on the screen right away. So as you can see, most of the people who believe that malware and ransomware, I mean, the voting percentage is 51, is the biggest cybersecurity threat that enterprises face today, followed by phishing attacks, and then insider threats and DDoS. I would like to understand, and this is also my cue to launch the second poll. But before that, I would like to understand from Atul. Atul, do you agree with this particular poll results? Do you think that these are the right results, and these are the threats that these are the cybersecurity threats that enterprises currently encounter, or are we missing something in between?
I think the results are pretty well on the target. To my opinion, the second one is the first. Phishing attacks is the most challenging thing today, followed by ransomware. And these are the things which every industry, irrespective of which domain they are facing. And it's a kind of problem since COVID. What has happened is work from home, and a lot of vendors getting connected. Phishing related things have really increased, and one needs to be very careful about it.
We would like to launch our second poll over here. So the question for this particular poll, which is now going to come up on your screen, is which is a cybersecurity measure that most companies are increasingly investing in? Is it perimeter security? Is it identity and access management, remote access, security automation, or security training? While we wait for our participants to give the feedback, I would also like to share some figures that I had come across during my research. So at least 91% of Indian organizations were targeted by ransomware attacks in 2022. This was as per a report that had come out by Sabara. Now, in today's digital landscape, the proliferation of cyber threats is posing a significant challenge to most businesses everywhere. And far too many companies are working with far too many small tech teams than they would like to, and who lack the wide array of skill sets that is required. Coming back to you, Atul, I would like to understand from you, how can companies design solutions that provide value to them and increase the cybersecurity offense and defense skill for a day-to-day use?
Thank you so much. In order to design solutions that provide value and increase the cybersecurity defense, companies must understand, like current landscape and cyber threats and vulnerabilities that particular industry is facing. As we discussed and earlier discussions, what we saw is now EV is growing, like electronic vehicles, and these vehicles are connected. Now that industry is completely ignorant as far as India is concerned, is how that risks are going to hit. And every connected vehicle today is having a lot of challenges. So particularly one needs to look at, what industry they are into, assess the risk, and then, put a framework which can be tailored to their own, industry and challenges. The areas one needs to cover, of course, people, process, and technology. We always, this is the fundamental for any industry. And one needs to see, what kind of risk that these three pillars have for their own, environment. Now, what happens is when you actually look at potential risk, you need to also see from people perspective what is the risk. And everyone will agree, we are discussing the same topic, that talent shortage. Talent shortage, of course, is a big challenge, and therefore, getting right people to manage security is an issue. At the same time, the behavior of the employees is becoming a big challenge, because you have employees not only connecting to your own internal network, but they have their own kind of behavior outside the network, that is using social media and other things. So these threats, actually, from people perspective, earlier when I started career 20 years back, it was more kind of focused on internal networks. But now if you see, the entire social media has thrown up a lot of risk from people behavior perspective. So one needs to really get hand on how my internal employees are behaving, and therefore this behavior analysis becomes a key part of this people risk now. Of course, we started the entire journey of cybersecurity with creating awareness, and now this month, in fact, October is a cybersecurity month, and everyone from their perspective will try to educate the people using now new technologies like AI based solutions. One can also test the effectiveness of the training, whatever trainings we are giving, whether they are becoming effective or not, by creating phishing simulations and stuff like that. So these people related risks are the most critical risk, whatever any industry may say, but this is the most important, and one is to build framework around this risk to see how people related risk can be managed. The second is, of course, process. One needs to really set up the right processes in place. And if you see in last couple of years, there are a lot of issues which are coming from vendor risks also. So one needs to have now vendor risk management also well in place, because even IT vendors are getting exploited, and using them, companies are getting targeted. We have seen a lot of attacks in such way. And of course, robust processes now, even SEBI has recognized and issued regulate or rather guideline based on ISO 27001. This is the framework, largely India has been following for a long time, and this 2022 version of 27001 is pretty exhaustive in terms of setting up right process. It has mentioned very clearly how one can go ahead and put threat management in place, threat intelligence in place, and a lot of other controls which were missing earlier are there covered in this new standard. And the third aspect which we always keep on talking is technology, because you have more than like 70-80 technologies which are available in security. Unlike any other area or domain of IT, technology plays a key role, but here choosing the right technology becomes very challenging, because each vendor has a unique problem solving technology, and one needs to understand, as a head of security, one needs to understand what is really required for his industry, his environment, and put those technologies in place. One needs to really work with vendors as partners, really see how your problems are getting addressed, and then work with those partners very closely. And as far as technology is concerned, now what has happened is a lot of good options have come in terms of cloud, because you can subscribe certain technology, use cloud, and see how it works. Doing proof of concept or POVs has become very easy because of cloud, and one can surely take advantage of that. So people process technology, to sum up, is something one needs to really see how it is relevant, tune these whole pillars to the industry, and then take it ahead.
Thank you so much, Atul. And Ravindra, I'll be coming back to you because he raised a question about vendor management. But before that, we will have the results showing up of our second poll. And here are the results. Now, the question that was asked was, which cybersecurity measures are companies increasingly investing in? And as per the poll results, the highest weightage has been given to security automation, followed by identity and access management. And perimeter security and security training have similar weightage. So this seems like, I guess most of the people over here would be on board with this. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay, fabulous. It's nice to have a unanimous consensus. So Ravindra, coming to you and taking off from what Atul just mentioned, the need for, partner vendors to work with their company, with the enterprises as partners to address the challenges that they might have. Do you see that really happening? And do you see, and can you also touch upon how companies can leverage the cloud environment to have POCs which can really elevate their problems and ensure they have the faster time when it comes to deployments?
It does. And see, cloud gives you that flexibility wherein you don't need to deploy anything on your premises, at least just to test your use cases as the part of POC or POE, right? It gives you that flexibility of turning on or spinning up the VMs, which you want it to test. But at the same time, right, cloud has opened a lot of doors. Like after pandemic, we have seen cloud adoption has increased a lot. At the same time, people targeting cloud assets has increased a lot. Unlike pre-pandemic era, perimeter security, and as even Vaibhav mentioned, right, the infrastructure which is in your own control, you tend to secure it. What about the infrastructure where you cannot install any agent? OT environment, IoT environment, SCADA environment, something like IoT, Internet of Things, right? All those assets connected to the internet. So those are the things needs to be taken care of. Technology does help, to be honest. Technology, I mean, even Atul mentioned about it, there are 80, 70, 80 cybersecurity vendors providing you different tools and technologies to protect the infrastructure. And that's the only reason I could see the security automation is the highest voting done by the people, because you have so many tools and technology deployed, and they are throwing alerts and events at you. How we are going to consolidate, contextualize them, and some sort of automation to act on the behalf of human, right? And that's what we are talking about. Process technology, fine, we can do that. You can have technologies binding for the people, rather from vendors. But the topic which we are discussing today is the cybersecurity skill gap, right? And that's exactly where the people plays a very, very important role. As I said, technology plays a crucial role, right? Addressing the limitations of the intellectual, but to what extent, right? All those tools and technologies will reduce your work to some extent. Maybe using AI ML, all those products we talked about, firewall, endpoint, cloud security, mobile device management, email solution, name any. Even the product where you cannot install anything, think about SCADA IoT environment, you can install NDR, network detection and response. Very soon we'll be seeing cloud detection and response, right? So those are the tools, gives you protection at the same time visibility, right? And obviously those tools are backed up by AI and ML because it can process and analyze vast amount of data which human brain cannot do, right? But having said that, it is going to give you some kind of an output eventually, right? Which needs to be acted upon by some human, right? And that's exactly where the skill sets is required. And when it comes to cybersecurity, technology is fine, process is fine. It's not about manpower, it is all about brain power, right? So because we have seen the targeted attack, sophisticated attack, even some of the panelists mentioned about the IT team's tools are getting hacked, right? And there are examples, like, and it was a classical example in one of the company where they used to have remote deployment tool, which used to be used as internal tool to deploy software across the different systems and servers. Now, moment pandemic was declared, everyone was in panic. Everyone wanted to carry their laptop, desktop at home so that they can work from home. And this particular system admin or cybersecurity admin has given that remote access admin tool remotely, right? That means he has created some firewall rule to publish that tool over the internet, and publishing it over the internet has eventually given access to the bad guys as well, where they can just got access of it and they use the software to deploy ransomware, right? And eventually that happens. So that is exactly what we call it as a leaving of the land technique. Don't need to install any malicious tool, right? You are using the tools available for the IT team to even navigate my attack, remote desktop tools, AMA admin. So in that all this scenario, right, tools helps, technology helps, but the orchestration, automation, AI ML, right? The solutions like EDR, XDR, SOAR. But again, to operate those, right? It will reduce your work, no doubt. But to operate those, to act upon the final conclusion, you will need people and not only just manpower, the brain power, the skills one.
Okay, thank you, Ravindra. You're right. And you give me the perfect opportunity to ask you the question as to how technology tools can step in to bridge the cybersecurity talent gap, and the limitations sometimes that exist in terms of the intellectual capabilities in addressing these kind of threats that seem to evolve continuously.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sunita, for asking this. Although I answered the question partially in my previous answer, but then technology does plays a crucial role in addressing the limitations of what intellectual capabilities what we are seeing today, right? To what extent? Let me pause and then I answer you that. Now, all those tools and technology I talked about, firewall, email, cloud, NDR, XDR, all those things are backed up by AI, right? AI, ML, again, I said process data at speed, which human brain cannot. It detects anomaly at faster. It detects the patterns, right? It can have some kind of behavioral analytics so that it can detect unknown as well based on the previous patterns and all, right? Again, all those tools and technology has been backed up by some sort of automation, right? Again, automation in cybersecurity can help experts to reduce the work, right? So it can if you're doing the same stuff repeatedly, you can do the automation so that human can get more time to focus on the critical stuff. And at the end, automation does help in reducing the human error and reducing the overall efficiency of the humans as well. Then I think Vaibhav talked about, or you also talked about it, threat intelligence platform, right? The threat labs usually helps collecting all those data from various customers, right? And then helping organizations to stay secure for the emerging threats. At the same time, somebody spoke about cybersecurity simulated tools, phishing tools. Somebody said, even Atul said that phishing has to be the top one, right? But again, phishing is just an entry point into an environment by dropping a malicious phishing email to a malicious payload. But eventually it leads to ransomware attack only. So those two answers were pretty relevant. But there are phishing tools available, right? Because you might not be having the end user as an IT user, the software development, maybe a manufacturing industry guy, right? These simulators helps you, right? Rather than teaching them in a classroom, actually it gives you real world. You can send them a phishing mails and see how they are tracking. You can involve their managers, right? Those tools helps. I talked about EDR, XDR, which gives you visibility across your entire environment. NDR, that is network detection and response. And one more thing which can help to kind of address the limitation of intellectual is deception technologies, right? Wherein you actually create a honeypot where attackers are attracted to it and see what they are trying to do so that you can take that security measures into your actual environment, right? And at the end of the day, security orchestration, because that's what people even voted for, right? No matter how many tools you are going to deploy, right? You need to how many alerts you are going to manage. If there are 70 80 are the maximum tools so vendors we spoke about. Even if you're deploying 13 or 14 cybersecurity tools, which is kind of must nowadays, the number of alerts and detection generated by all those tools, right? You need to obviously contextualize them, correlate them, and that's exactly where XDR and SIEM helps you. But at the same time, whatever output it is generating, are you going to create rules on each and every tools you have deployed? That's exactly where SOAR helps you. So in conclusion, the integrating technology into cybersecurity, it helps organization can have better control and can address the limitation of human capabilities to some extent, right? However, it is important that technology alone is not sufficient, right? The comprehensive cybersecurity strategy is all about skilled professional who can interpret the technology which you have deployed and then make a decision accordingly. So again, it boils down to the skill sets.
Thank you so much, Ravindra. And Vibhav, I'm going to take on, what Ravindra said. But before that, we have we have another poll coming up. So this question is going to be about what are the crucial challenges faced by CISOs. One, is it the fragmentation of technology? Is it the lack of experienced talent? Is it the visibility gap into digital infrastructure? Or is it measuring ROI on tech deployments? And so while we wait for our participants to vote on that, and I also request our participants to please put the questions in the chat box. We shall then address it to, and if you want any particular person from the panelists to answer your question, please mention that as well. We'll make sure that they take up your question. So, Vibhav, coming to you.
Right, right. So I think it's a very pertinent one, and thanks, Ravindra. I think Ravindra, there are some very interesting inputs. In fact, all the panelists, starting with Atul and then Anand. I think Atul's point on first point, and I'll come to that question. But yeah, I really like the idea of those 3Ds. Maybe I'll use some of them as I go ahead and hire in my team, because extremely pertinent. And so was your point, Ravindra. But when you look at the recent hirings and getting some of the talented people onboarded for KPMG standpoint, I'll talk specifically on how we are going them. We have stopped hiring at the campuses, and we have been doing hackathons. We have been giving problems out in the internet, and whosoever kind of solve those are the people that we have been onboarding recently. Of course, there are a couple of campuses specifically where we have been able to actually get this program on getting people trained on specific skill set up as well. So we've been working with them to get some of these training curriculums included as part of the curriculum that the campuses run, and hence the people who come on board are well trained, well versed, and then we have 6 months of training period that we kind of have with them, so that before they actually become part of the organization, they can really, during their training tenure, get the gist of what cyber is, what are the client problems that we have that are kind of operating with. But coming to the point, I think it is very pertinent, because you also have to gauge the interest of the people who you may intend to get as part of the scale or as the team, and hence getting these competitions, getting some honeypot skills, getting some competitions. And in fact, one of the recent clients that I was working with has 100% transformed its hiring process as well. And to an extent, some of the clients have gone about doing honeypots, and they gave us bounties in case we are able to explore those. So they are very, very innovative ways to extract value out of the engagement that we have been doing, and also getting some extremely talented people onboarded using some of these latest skill sets. So I think these are some of the innovative ways that we'll have to anyways go before we can really get some intelligent people onboarded.
Okay, thanks, Vibhav. What you say, you're spot on when you say that it all boils down to gauging the interest of the people, the talent that is there. Because at the end of the day, you can take the horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink, which is the best analogy I can think in this particular case. And it is also, therefore, incumbent on most of the organizations to continuously take up diligent upskilling and reskilling endeavors to ensure that their people are aware of the latest technologies, can reskill themselves, see a career path ahead of there, and then even the companies can take a call whether they have the right kind of people or not. And already Mr. Sareen and Mr. Budodia have outlined how they can do that. So Nadir, coming to you, CISOs can't get away from the fact that there are a skills shortage, and therefore they do not have the opportunity to hire the right kind of people. What, according to you, or do you think they can leverage Gen AI, the buzzword that's going all over the place, to help them with this kind of interim shortfall and bridge this interim shortfall?
So we've heard all the panelists, and we now definitely conclude that there is a skill gap. And how do you make sure that you overcome this? One is you get more people into the domain, which will of course take time, but you still have to solve the problem. So I guess AI is and ML is the right word. It's not that this is being just used in information security right now, but it's been there for a while. When you put that poll up, it was security automation and identity access management as the top two spends on cybersecurity, which the people polled, and which is actually a fact too, because I know for a fact people are investing on IDMs and on security automation. Why automation is because what we're dealing with everything which is accessed remotely currently. and everything which is online, it's a lot of data. Now, a lot of access, a lot of data. How do you analyze what's coming to you, right? And you can't expect individuals to do that. And what you need is not just the analysis, but you need real-time analysis. It's not that you do post facto and the things have already been done. So the most important thing is the analysis has to be real-time for you to take decisions real-time. There are large amounts of data and which can only be done by AI and ML. So in today's industry, malware detection, phishing detection, security log analysis, network security, and endpoint security, every domain uses AI. Now, how much to use? Is the question. Initially when I don't remember which panelist gave that example of I think Vibhav did that. 50 rupees, whatever, $50, and then it was stolen the next day. The question is, how much do you invest, right? An ICICI bank will invest more. A company who's not B2C but is B2B will invest a little less, depending on what value you have of the data or what you're running. You will invest that much in security. Every company will not invest the same. These technologies are there probably. If you invest in technology, it's definitely going to be cost effective than investing in people. We all know that. And that's what we all are doing. Furthermore, it becomes essential to invest in AI. What would it do to your cybersecurity landscape? It will increase efficiency. It will have excellent accuracy. Whatever you're doing today, probably the technology will help you be more accurate in making your decisions. I told about reducing costs, which will be another advantage. The fourth advantage would be the real-time threat detection and response. So you will detect the threat and response real-time. That all will be an advantage when you use AI in cybersecurity.
Okay, thank you, Nadir. That's actually a very good point that you have made, and everybody seems to be liking Vibhav's refrigeration story. So thanks for that, Vibhav. And we have the response of our third poll coming up, and I'll just share it with you. So the question, just to go over the same ground again, the question that was asked was, what are the most crucial challenges faced by CISOs? And interestingly, the lack of experienced talent is what our audience has given 41% weightage. The second one they have mentioned that is most difficult for CISOs to manage these days is visibility gap into digital infrastructure, followed by measuring ROIs of tech deployments, just like you mentioned, Nadir, and fragmentation of technology. We do have a few other questions that have come up from our participants as well. I request you to please put it in the chat box, and we shall ask our panelists. And in case you want any particular panelist to answer your questions, please mention that as well. And we have a last and final poll also coming up. And not that it's going to be the end of this session, but we will have that. So before that, I would like to understand from Nadir, you mentioned about the fact that AI is something that has been used extensively, but it has also been noted that AI comes with a lot of limitations, especially Gen AI. And when you're using that and you're using a fresh out of college or a fresh out of an educational institution talent, isn't that a mix that is destined to fail?
Every new technology comes in with pros and cons, I would say. We'll have to take the best out of it. So it doesn't mean that if there are cons, I will not adopt that technology. I will make sure that I will implement in such a manner, make it foolproof, and then implement. I agree that, as I mentioned earlier also, it's like everyone's talking about AI. It's the most abused word in today's world, I guess. People don't understand that you're just using this word and not using it properly and implementing it right will not work. So we'll have to figure out that what do we really need, which technology helps us implement that in a manner which is going to be beneficial for us. So every case is different, and I see that there are more pros than cons. The thing is, pick up your use case, see what you need as an outcome, and implement the solution in that. That's the way you do.
Okay, thank you, Nadeem. So, like I said, we do have a poll that is going to be there. And again, this is going to be an interesting one because we are seeing a lot of action from participants. They have shared a few interesting questions, which I'm going to sum up in the end. So, the last poll that we have is about the most sought after cybersecurity skills in contemporary times. The options are early intrusion detection. The second one is threat emulation. The third is threat hunting. And the fourth is incident response. While we wait for our participants to share their inputs about it, Ravindra, I would like to come back to you since we are talking about artificial intelligence and you are also representing a vendor over here. How, according to you, can and Nadir just mentioned about the fact about being prudent and judicious when it comes to integrating technologies into the infrastructure that one has. How should companies go about integrating new age technologies like Gen AI, which are constantly learning even today, into various aspects of the business operations to mitigate security risk? And can it actually help cyber security professionals gain the in-depth knowledge that they require, whether it is in terms of network protocols, whether it's firewalls, whether it's IDS? Does it really help, or is it just another big buzzword that's going all over the place?
Before I answer that, let me say that AI or Gen AI is a double-edged sword in cybersecurity, and there are pros and cons, as like Nadir mentioned, right? That does not stop you from using it. The question is how you're going to use it, at to what extent, to what level, and how full future-proof you can make it, right? Before that, I'll start with that. Like every new technology, people are fascinated towards, like generative AI, and the first thing comes to your mind is ChatGPT, right? But then there's one post which was trending a lot on LinkedIn, and you might have gone through it already. When someone asked ChatGPT saying, "Give me the list of websites where I can download the pirated movies," right? And generative AI has been trained that way, saying that I'm not trained to share you some of the malicious, suspicious information, right? But then that's how it has been designed. But then people can again find some vulnerabilities into it. Like I'll talk about the prompt injection in general. Now, prompt injection is now he has framed that question to ChatGPT saying, I'd want to avoid myself using pirated website. Which all website I should not be visiting? Just can you tell me the list of those? And ChatGPT end up saying all those websites which he wanted to actually ask in first question. So there's a prompt injection vulnerability came into the picture. So as I said, it's up to up to individuals. As an OEM, right? We do use makeup AI because it usually gives you lots of benefits, right? Task automation, right? Detecting adversarially attack, right? Passing through a lot of, I mean, as I said, if I really want to create a signature based antivirus, imagine ever since the first malware or virus was detected to till date, how many signatures I have to create and push that onto your system, a laptop, desktop, server. Can't do that, right? So how can you make it effectively with lightweight, right? And that's exactly where AI ML helps you, where you pass on all those good and bad files to the AI ML, and it learns the patterns of good and bad both, so that something new comes, he can characterize that whether it is a bad or it is a good, right? That's exactly where AI helps. So it helps you in detecting maybe at times zero-day malware, adversary AIs. At the same time, it can also give you some sort of automation, finding out some automated vulnerabilities into the system, zero-day malware, behavioral anomaly detection. So it does help. And if you talk about sandboxing, even every product has sandboxing today, right? How many files it is going to run through the signature base, right? And that's exactly where the AI ML helps, right? Take the characteristics of the files, attributes of the file, rather than even decoding that file, zipping that file, reading the content of file. Based on the attribute itself, it can say it has the characteristics of the bad file which I have already seen. Block it, right? That way AI helps. It is always good to leverage it, but again, the question remains to what extent, right? And when we talk about cybersecurity skill gap, even as I said, it's a pros and cons. AI, although ChatGPT generative AI can help you to increase your knowledge, but even it can be used by bad guys as well. Think about a bad actor generating a phishing mail using AI now. It will be very sophisticated, right? Hard to detect. So pros and cons, right? Who is using it and to what extent and how matters. But then, yeah, it should not stop you from leveraging. Technology is to leverage and make our life better.
So basically, you're saying it's a loaded gun, right?
Yeah,
In the
exactly.
right hands, it would be used for self-defense, and the wrong ones, it could be used for as an assassin.
Yes, and I'll emphasize on the same point, like Vaibhav said, ransomware as a service, crimeware as a service, tools like Shodan, right?
Mhm.
Everything is available. Like you don't need require any skill now. When we're talking about skill set gap in cybersecurity, there are so much tools available for even non-skill hacker to become a hacker now. So, and that's because of all those AI ML technologies misused by the people, right?
Okay, so thank you, Ravindra, and it was great talking to all of you. I'm now opening the Q&A to the audience, and we already have a couple of questions. Before that, I will quickly tell you the results of the last poll that we had. Running through the question again, it was what are the most sought after cybersecurity skills? And the highest weightage has been given to early intrusion detection, followed by threat hunting, followed by incident response, and then threat emulation. I would just like to understand from all of you panelists, do you agree with this? Do you think that IDS is something that is more sought after by all enterprises?
I think, Vinita, we have a very cybersecurity aware audience today. It looks like, well, it is the most important thing, early intrusion detection, but it's hard to detect, right? If you can do that, we can stop many attacks. And that's exactly where if you don't detect early, then you have to have threat hunting capabilities, skill sets. And if you don't have threat hunting capabilities, if you get hit by ransomware attack, then there is an incident response comes into the picture, right? All those voting makes pretty sense and relevant to me.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to ask, the questions that have been posed by our, participants. So, Mr. Budodia, I would like you to take this up. This question is, what role does employee upskilling play in bridging gaps of cybersecurity? Shouldn't the management be scared that if an employee gets more skilled, they will ask for more payout and might even leave the firm?
Actually, this problem is not only with the cyber security skill set. This problem in IT has been with all sort of skill set, be the ERP, the programmers, etc. What we need to devise a strategy within an organization where we create a talent pipeline within the organization, as well as we create an ecosystem with the help of our partners, so that we have a right balance and right skill set continuity in an organization. So yes, and when we hire the laterals, we always take the advantage of someone training someone, and we get the advantage. So always it is balanced. So I think we should keep investing in the upskilling of the talent and create a talent pipeline as well as the vendor ecosystem to provide the continuity. That is how I think I would deal in our organization.
Mr. Sareen, would you want to add your 2 cents to it?
I completely agree there. The upskilling and the continuous trainings are very important. All right. And it has to be a balance. It has to be like Atul mentioned, right? People, process, technology. You can't overlay on technology, but not have people to manage it. You can't have only people, no technology. You are again vulnerable. And if you don't have stringent governance processes, you can't deal with security, right? It has to be a balance. And now, and the skill set. We are a large country. If all the businesses were to come together, work with institutions, have a particular curriculum for cybersecurity, I guess the fresh talent would be more keen to get into the new age, because the new age is digitalization, and cybersecurity is going to play a very critical role. If you see the digital India, the UPI is being talked over, the people who are managing it, and securing it, right? This is something that every organization should be looking forward to, and we at DTDC are trying to be early adopters, right? To have clear balance of, and we've been using latest technologies on AI, threat detection, simulations, right? But yeah, our focus has been on people as well.
Well, Mr. Sareen, you will be thrilled to know that one of the other participants has exactly what you mentioned, exactly what you said. I shall read out the statement because I don't think it's a question. This person has mentioned anonymously, whatever tool you deploy, you would still need people to implement and manage the tool. Yes, companies and OEMs need to engage with academia to train new engineers. We are a 1.4 billion population and churn out 10 lakh engineers every year. It is shameful if we still have a skill gap in a critical area like cybersecurity. So it's kind of,
It's
what you said.
I have maybe answered it in advance because yeah, that's the way we should be looking at and the D3L program which I was talking about, Dream, Dare, Deliver, right? The fresh talent, the fresh minds uh, go far beyond of traditional people like maybe I could say us as well. They come out, they bring in out of the box ideas, and I think we should build this skill set in our country. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sareen. And there is one more. This is the final question that I'll be taking because we are almost running out of time. And,
Can I just come in here to answer this? I
sure.
think when we're saying that we have those many engineers, I would just want to question the quality of engineers we're churning, right? I would say around 25-30% are quality engineers. The level of engineers which are churned out in India is not that great. So there, and cybersecurity being a niche field, plus all these engineers are not information security engineers. Yeah, they are engineers from different fields. So I would still say that there is a gap. Not because we have so many engineers. All those engineers are not supposed to do this. They don't want to do this, right? 50% would do something else. 50 would others. Only a few would come here. Plus, the quality which we have is not great. So upskilling for people, for engineers is definitely required because this is a niche field. We need
Yeah,
to understand.
completely agree. Nader. That's the reason. The course curriculums. If you work on it, right? Like what organizations can actually partner with universities, have colleges, partner with colleges, vocational schools, develop a tech curricula and certification programs. It is a niche skill, but we have to develop. Maybe the quality is not right now, but I think that if companies focus, because uh, the matured skill set, right, then start demanding. Perks and benefits, possibly the organization cannot, but yeah, the talent pool has to be maintained, right? Somehow, somewhere, right? The niche has to be targeted.
Yep.
That's and technology, yeah, as I said, people, process, technology. The advantage of technology is automation, right? And how much we can, as much as we can automate, that's good. You need lesser people, but at the end you need people.
So I'm going to finally finish it off. We still have questions coming in, but I'm going to now to request our participants that we are running out of time. So all the questions, you please go ahead and put it in the chat box. We shall share it with the panelists and we'll make sure that you get the replies from them. But this one last question has come in, so I'm going to ask it. It's from Mr. Khalid Sheikh. And he mentions that securing the IT landscape requires a 360-degree approach, and it's an ongoing journey. Participants identified security automation and identity access management as the top needs. What is the priority security aspect as per the panelists? So, Atul, let's start with you. According to you, what is the most critical one? And I'll take each of you.
Thanks. It's very difficult to answer in very short because I started saying people, process, technology. We are just talking technology. It's not only sufficient, but few things I can really mention, and the pool also has mentioned very clearly phishing. Now, phishing is something one needs to really attack because it's the easy way for hackers to come in, and we have seen since the users at the organizations are not really aware about where to respond, where not to click, and so on and so forth. So phishing, becomes extremely important. So user awareness around phishing, and then user behavior and analysis is very important nowadays, because how users are, kind of behaving when they actually come in, log in, log out, and so on and so forth. So that is where AI is helping a lot. So these two things are very much important nowadays. Of course, identity access related to privilege access management is extremely important. So I rank, after people, privilege access management is one of the key technologies that everyone should be going. Two-factor authentication followed by this, and then of course incident detection response is something which every organization needs to be prepared now, because a lot of money has been spent in terms of putting controls in place, but detection response is also becoming extremely challenging, and that's where companies should look at.
Maybe the next time around we'll have a proper panel discussion, in a physical format where people can actually ask and then catch up over, coffee or something to get a more elaborate reply. But moving on to you, Nadir, what's your take? Which is the most critical one?
Yeah, so I actually agree. See, it all depends on your environment, okay, and what kind of people you're dealing with, and what business you're in. But I agree that what is the most important is the IDM, and I think that is something which will resolve all the problems, because you will exactly know what's happening in your environment once you have that. And PAM, as mentioned earlier by Atul, these are the two things which you need to be more cautious about. Yeah.
Okay, and Ms. Budolia, what would you say?
Yeah, I think the security automation is would be the priority for means talking about my own environment or business, because it is almost difficult, means impossible to manage without the security automation tools and technologies. The second is the way the environment is getting complex. We are moving towards cloud, more and more cloud adaptation, as well as the IoT devices. The whole horizon is getting very much enlarged, and the partner ecosystem, etc. So it is all the more important that we deploy identity management system and ensure that we know who are the users of the system. And third, the other continuous training and awareness, and creating a skill set within the organization to manage all these technology and tools. And last but not the least is creating business continuity plan, because whatever technology you deploy, the cyber security risk is always going to be there. It is all the more important that we get ready with risk mitigation business continuity plan in place, so that in case of any eventuality, we are quickly on with our business. So not in a particular order, but I think these are the 3-4 top priorities for our organization like us.
Thank you, Ms. Budolia. And Mr. Sareen, if I were to come to you, if you would either want to pick from the options that were given on screen, or what according to you would be the priorities?
So if I would if I would put it in order, it would be IDAM, PAM. Behavior analysis is very important. These set up the baseline, and then the threat intrusion detection and automation, right? Trainings and upskilling. These would be the critical things. Uh, the I feel these are proactive measures, right? And then at the end, faster response to any kind of detection which is happening through automation.
Okay. And Ravindra, what's your opinion?
Well, I'll keep it simple. Irrespective of any product or technology, it is all about keeping it simple with 3P: password, patch, and privilege. Basic thing on cybersecurity, and followed by visibility and 24/7 monitoring, because detection can happen anytime. Over the weekend, 2 a.m. in the morning, so you need to respond to them. So keep it having visibility, and have patches, complex password, least privileges. If you don't require any admin password, don't give it. That covers the identity access management as well.
All right, thank you so much. All of you have been great panelists, and while I had a very great closing statement, I am not going to use it. I'm going to use something that one of our participants, Dr. Rajan, has mentioned, because I think he has summed it up very well. According to Dr. Rajan, he says that cybersecurity is a large domain. The skills required also varies from organization to organization, which are governed by the sector-specific regulatory requirements. Except in well-regulated industries, the infosec is yet to be segregated from IT. The first breakthrough must be to have an independent voice for security. Remember, security is like a medicine. You need to design the pill required for your organization. Both overdose and underdose will kill you. I think Dr. Rajan has nailed it perfectly. And with that, I would like to bring this very interesting session to a closure. Thank you, all of you, for taking the time out and speaking to me. And I wish you a wonderful weekend.